The New York Times today of the Xinjiang province and the breach of human rights, enormous breach of the Uyghurs in that province in China. Let's go to Elaine Pearson, Australia Director of Human Rights Watch. Elaine, what do you make of this report? 400 pages, this document, and it makes for disturbing reading.
It does make for horrifying reading, to be honest. I think what these documents really show is that this was a chilling plan to commit widespread, systematic human rights violations against the Muslim population in Xinjiang. And really, it's quite horrifying. I think the question is now, what is the international community going to do about it? It shows that this plan came from President Xi Jinping himself, and it lays out in detail the brutal crackdown. The public propaganda line from the Chinese government so far has been very much about how these are vocational training centres, that people have gone there voluntarily. And I think what these documents really show is that this really isn't the case, that people have been forced into this, and that the Chinese government full well knew that there would be a lot of pushback about this.
And this follows another leak just a couple of months ago of that video which popped up on YouTube again with that imagery of the Uyghurs being led in shackles and blindfolded and so on. We're talking over 1 million individuals, aren't we?
Well, that's right. I mean, there's more than 1 million people who are being detained in these political re-education camps. This has been the case for some time now. It's been very difficult to get access to Xinjiang. Journalists have found it very difficult to go, except on state-sanctioned visits where they basically get a dog and pony show by the Chinese government. However, we've been able to get information. Human Rights Watch has released numerous reports on this from people who've managed to escape those camps, also from family members, including family members here in Australia who have relatives who are detained in those camps. And I think what it really shows is that, people are being pushed into these camps purely on the basis of suspicions that they could be religious extremists. So all sorts of things, like if their beard is too long, if they say salam alaikum instead of ni hao as a greeting, if they use the back door instead of the front door. All of these things are supposedly indicators of potential terrorism, and on that basis they've sent more than 1 million people to these political re-education camps.
Elaine, when you look at this situation though, while we are outraged in this country in terms of the images that we've seen and elsewhere in the international community in China, there would be little, if any, awareness of what's going on in terms of the broader population, wouldn't there?
Well, that's right. I mean, there is massive censorship in China. So, you can't get access to the New York Times, you can't get access to Human Rights Watch. It's only people who are able to sort of bypass those firewalls by using VPNs, and that's getting increasingly difficult inside China. I think one of the things that really surprised me with the documents, though, is the extent to which there was pushback by Chinese government officials in China against these policies. They knew that it would be counterproductive to do this, and in some cases Chinese officials actually disregarded the directives that were coming from Beijing, and they paid a very heavy price for that. In fact, they themselves then were punished, and I think that's really one of the extraordinary revelations from these documents.